National parks are supposed to be peaceful, untouched slices of wilderness, but dig through the right reports and you'll find something else. The weird stuff, the unsettling stuff, the what the hell actually happened out there stuff. Join us for part 3 of bizarre incident reports from various national parks. Welcome to Morbid Outdoors, the podcast that ventures deep into the shadows of the wild. Here, we unravel the mysteries of missing persons, explore spine chilling legends, and share the most morbid stories that nature has to offer. From the depths of the dense forests to the highest mountain peaks, we'll uncover the secrets that lie hidden in the great outdoors. Join us as we navigate the eerie, the unexplained, and the terrifying. So if you dare, grab your gear and let's embark on a journey into the unknown. This is Morbid Outdoors. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. My name is Elise, and oops, let me fix my mic. I am your host. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I really enjoy doing the bizarre incident reports because I love reading through incident reports at national parks. Some of them are really interesting. So I appreciate you being here this morning, and I hope that you enjoy this. I've gotten good feedback about these episodes, and I want to say thanks for liking them because sometimes I just sit on my laptop at night and read incident reports. So this allows me to do something a little bit more productive with all of that information that I'm reading. So I hope you guys are all having a good week. I want to start with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the lands now known as America's national parks are the ancestral homelands of Indigenous peoples who have lived with, traveled through, and cared for these places for thousands of years. These lands were never empty. They are part of living histories shaped by stewardship, culture, and resilience. We honor the original stewards of these lands and recognize their continued presence, sovereignty, and connection to the places we visit and share. So, first, we're going to start April 22nd, 1987, in Canyonlands National Park. Now, the title is Double Fatality to SCA's Lightning Caused. This happened at the Island in the Sky District, which is the easiest to get to as it's near Moab. The report reads PW and BC bad ridden mountain bikes to Grand View Point and the island in the sky and were on their way back when a thunderstorm broke over the mesa. They pulled to the side of the road, left their bikes in the road shoulder, and took shelter under a juniper a few feet away. And a juniper is a tree. A lightning bolt hit shortly thereafter and killed them both. They were found at the scene shortly thereafter. Rangers attempted CPR and defibrillation, I think they spelled that wrong, was attempted by the ambulance crew that arrived from Moab, both without success. So, again, I don't know if you guys have ever been taught this, but if there's ever a lightning storm, don't sit under a tree. So this happened in April 1987 in Canyonlands, and that is really it's just really heartbreaking, because 2 lives were lost that day, and there was really nothing they could do about it. They were trying to get out of the storm. Our next bizarre incident report comes on Friday, March 24th, 1995, also in Canyonlands, and the title just says "Search." On the morning of March 17th, park visitor CM reported that his girlfriend, 25-year-old SG of Flagstaff, had walked away from their illegal campsite in the Devil's Canyon the previous evening and had not returned. Thorough interviews were conducted with CM and his 5 companions, one of whom had a fractured ankle resulting from a short fall from a rock. Interesting to put in the report. One of the members of the group said that he'd seen SG take 3 hits of LSD and some Valium on the day she disappeared. Rangers had already noted that CM appeared to be under the influence of some kind of drug at the time that he reported SG's absence. Reports indicated that SG was dressed in a bikini and hiking boots. During the night, the area received hard rain for several hours, but temperatures remained mild. Hasty teams were immediately dispatched to the point last seen, and an aircraft was brought in to search roads and trails in the area. 3 search dog teams, additional rangers, and a helicopter joined the search effort the following day. Around 4 p.m. that afternoon, SG walked into the Needles Visitor Center, where she'd been dropped off by someone who'd picked her up. She did not understand that she'd been missing for 48 hours and rambled about being confronted by armed men and Indians who were shooting rocks at her. Except for a few scratches and contusions on her legs and feet, she was in good condition. County officers searched SG's vehicle and found marijuana in CM's pack. He was charged with possession by the county. Federal charges are pending. So, what? I mean, can you imagine being park rangers involved in this? Like, she took LSD and Valium, and now she's somewhere in this freaking desert, um, in a bikini and hiking boots, okay? Like, I can't. I also found it interesting that they named that this was an illegal campsite, and I wonder what exactly made their campsite illegal, like, if they were squatting out there or if they were camping, where they were not supposed to due to revegetation or, anything like that. So, that one was an interesting read. I have one from May 19th, 1997 from Capitol Reef National Park in Utah, and, this one says, "Human remains found." A contract university survey group discovered human remains in a remote backcountry area of the park on the afternoon of May 14th, 1997. Radio contact with the group was marginal, but items they saw at the scene suggest that the person might have been a hunter and that the body had been there for a number of years. Rangers were to hike in on Thursday, then return to the site with a state medical examiner and the county sheriff on Friday. Ranger Bob Creeling as the lead investigator. And then Monday, June 2nd, 1997, there was a follow up on the discovery of human remains. Human remains found by a contract survey crew on May 14th have been identified as those of J. a California hunter who was reported lost in the area on October 23rd, 1971. So almost 30 years later. According to the former sheriff who led the search and investigation more than 25 years ago, J. was 70 years old at the time and disappeared during an intense storm that dropped 2 feet of snow in the area. JJ was found in a rugged, remote area about 7 miles from where he was last seen. He had built a primitive shelter, and his wallet, rifle, coin purse, and other items were found nearby. A quarter century's worth of duff, 6 inches deep, half buried his body. I don't know what duff is. Maybe that was an error. The remains were delivered to the state medical examiner's office. Family members are relieved to have the mystery solved and are planning a trip to the site. So that one was interesting, these two reports, because this man disappeared in 1971 and was found almost 30 years later. He was 70 years old. Man, I know that some 7-year-olds are super capable, but I mean, going out by yourself in this really remote area as 70, you'd think that there might be someone to accompany you do that. Not because they're incapable or incompetent of being outdoors at 70 alone, but it's just a safety issue. So you might not share that opinion with me, and that's totally fine. So, my next one is from Carlsbad Caverns National Park, and this one happened April 17th, 2024. The title is Human Remains Found. On October 11th, human skeletal remains were found on the Yucca Canyon Trail. The Eddy County Sheriff's Office is investigating and has sent the remains to the Office of the Medical Investigator. There was no immediate evidence to match the remains to missing persons cases. The trail closed for a couple of days for the investigation and reopened April 13th. I could not find a follow up on this one. They found human skeletal remains, and there was no follow up anywhere in these incident reports. So I don't know who that was. And this happens a lot in national parks where human remains are found and they are never identified. So our next one is from Congaree National Park. And this one was Wednesday, April 30th, 2014. Missing family found after major search. With the help of over 10 local agencies, the National Park Service ranger successfully located and rescued three missing visitors at Congaree National Park just before sunrise on Tuesday, April 29th. J.R.K., 43, and his two children, ages 10 and 6, had been missing since Saturday night after they got lost on a day hike. Around 9:30 p.m. Saturday night, JRK was able to send a text message to a friend advising that he was lost and needed help. The friend relayed this to the children's mother, who called 911. Soon after that call, rangers and local search and rescue personnel, including air support, began hasty searches that continued until dawn. On Sunday, as grid searches began, park management decided to bring in an incident management team to provide stability and coordination among agencies. And by midday Monday, 9,000 acres of the park's 27,000 acres had been searched, and the team began working with partners to plan searches for the remaining areas. Rangers Jared Gertler made audio and visual contact with the missing family around 4:30 a.m. on Tuesday morning while on the night shift at the park. At 7:30 a.m., with assistance from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources officers and their ATVs, the family was extracted and transported by ambulance to a local hospital in stable condition. Ranger Steve Closter served as incident commander for this operation. So that is amazing because sometimes when someone gets a call out that they need help, it's too late when they're found. That has happened in Utah a lot and mainly in the summer. Obviously, this is a different national park, but I am just really glad that this family was found because that would have been terrifying. They spent 3 or 4 nights out in the wilderness by themselves, you know? His 2 kids, I'm sure, who was freaking out and him trying to keep his cool, to keep the children calm, so glad that they were found. Our next one is from Crater Lake National Park in Oregon, and it happened Monday, September 25th, 1995, and the title is Helicopter Crash: Probable Multiple Fatalities. An AS-350 helicopter with an unknown number of people aboard crashed and sank into Crater Lake on Saturday, September 23rd, 1995. There were no survivors. The helicopter, which can hold up to 6 people, sank into the lake, which is about 1,500 feet deep at the crash site. No further details are currently available. And then just 2 days later, there was a follow up incident report. The names of the pilot and passenger who died in the helicopter crash in Crater Lake on September 23rd have been released. The pilot was GC-52 of um, Numclaw, Washington. His sole passenger was ET-45 of West Lynn, Oregon. The search is continuing for any further clues on the cause of the accident. The helicopter was an aerospatial AS-350B1 A-Star owned by American Euro Helicopter of Grand Prairie, Texas, and it was en route from Seattle to Las Vegas when the incident occurred. The helicopter crashed in open water about a mile from the shoreline of the lake below Crater Lake Lodge. It broke up upon impact, and pieces of the craft sank quickly to an estimated depth of about 1,500 feet. Neither body has been recovered. The park is exploring methods for determining the location of the wreckage. Jet fuel and other contaminants were released into the lake's pristine waters. Most of the spilled jet fuel has already evaporated, and it's likely that 99% will evaporate over the next few days or weeks. There are also small amounts of more viscous fluids in the helicopter, which will take longer to evaporate. The park will conduct water testing and analysis for hydrocarbons at the crash site this week. The cause of the crash is still unknown. The weather was clear at the time that the helicopter went down. And then we also have another follow up on that initial incident report. Representative from the Federal Aviation Administration and the National Transportation Safety Board are in the park to look at material collected from the crash site and continue the investigation into the cause of the crash. A number of eyewitnesses observed the incident from the Caldera Rim and from Crater Lake Lodge. Can you imagine? I'm sorry, can you imagine being at Crater Lake National Park and enjoying your time and then seeing a helicopter crash into the lake? That would be so traumatizing. Now, the weather was reportedly perfect with glass smooth water producing mirror like reflections. Witnesses told investigators that the helicopter made a turn near Wizard Island towards the lodge and continued in that direction while making a slow descent. Nothing appeared to be wrong. The helicopter appeared to just fly into the lake. It then tumbled and sank. Park personnel were on the scene within 20 minutes. They were able to recover large pieces of the helicopter, personal gear, and a logbook. The park staff is developing plans and alternatives for recovering the helicopter, but such an operation will likely take place next summer as winter weather conditions are beginning to settle in. And this was late September 1995. I didn't really see follow ups on that. And I don't know if those bodies were ever recovered from Crater Lake. So I might have to do some more digging. But what I saw online was that that was the last incident report. That was the follow up, which is really sad because that means that there are those people at the bottom of Crater Lake, and they have been since the 90s, and that's really sad for their families that they can't bury them, but, again, and I don't know if they ever determined what caused the crash, but multiple witnesses said it just looked like the helicopter flew into the lake, which is really startling. So our next one is in Death Valley National Park, at the Salt Flats, and it was March 18th, 1988, and the title says Body Recovery. On the morning of March 4th, a park visitor reported finding a grave within the park. The site, which was located near the Salt Flats, contained a shallow human burial which had been partially uncovered by coyotes. Lovely. Subsequent investigation determined that the person had been killed, and the Inyo County issued a first-degree murder warrant on March 16th for the victim's son, who had fled to Oregon. The son has been arrested, a confession has been obtained, and extradition is being pursued. It had been determined that the murder was committed in Minnesota. The body was then transported to the park and buried there. And that is insane. Killing your mom in Minnesota, and then driving all the way from Minnesota to Death Valley National Park to bury her body in the desert and then flee to Oregon. I mean, the 80s were crazy, okay? So our next one is out of, again, Death Valley, and this happened February 15th, 2001. Now, this one really threw me for a loop because um, there are no follow-ups on this one. And the title is Discovery of Human Remains. A researcher reported finding human bones in a remote mountainous area of the park in December. So this was December 2000. An investigative team comprised of rangers, Inyo County officers, and the county coroner, they all traveled to this area. They found a skull, bones, clothing parts, and a shoe, but were driven off of the mountain by bad weather. The bones were found to be those of an adult male who was about 6 feet tall, and they had been in this location for 5 to 20 years. Park Search and Rescue Coordinator Dan Delinges developed a search plan employing a metal detector, sifting screens, and evidence collecting material. A team led by Ranger Bill Fitzpatrick discovered more bones and evidence in the general area of the first discovery. It's now been learned that some of the bones found in the second effort are those of a woman. A third trip to the area is planned to continue the investigation. I could not find any follow-up on this. Like, honestly, this might be the most disturbing one that I've read so far because someone found bones and a skull out here in the middle of freaking nowhere in Death Valley in December 2000. And when they go back to to get everything, to get all the bones, they find more bones belonging to a woman. So there's a man and a woman whose remains have been out there from either 5 years to 20 years. So 1995 or 1980, like anytime before there, they have no idea who these people are. And no cause of death. I could not find any follow-up about these human remains, so that is kind of really freaky, especially because it's Death Valley. So the next one from Death Valley happened December 2006, and the title is Unexploded Bomb Found in the Park. On November 1st, the Saline Valley campground host advised the park that campers had found an unexploded bomb while hiking about 3 miles south of the Springs area. The bomb appeared to be an unexploded military ordnance with some type of aircraft wing pod lying nearby. Ranger and pilot Ed Forner found the items and is working with park resource management staff and the Department of Defense to recover them. The incident occurred while Park Superintendent J.T. Reynolds was hosting uh, a desert managers group meeting and discussing ordnance and plane debris recovery with military commanding officers. So hilarious that they were meeting to discuss this and then freaking unexploded bomb was found. Like, just proves the point of like, we need to do something about this. And I can't imagine being in a national park on a hike and finding a freaking bomb that had a wing lying next to it, like, that's insane. But it does happen out west a lot. I actually was on a road trip through, Walker River Reservation or Walker Lake Reservation in Nevada, and we were in a van at the time, and we had planned to camp, on the shore of this lake, and there were signs that said, like, "Do not drive or walk, there are unexploded ordnance devices." And so we turned around and got a spot at the RV park because that was kinda scary. So it is more common than you think out west, I think. So our next, incident report is from Denali National Park, and it happened Wednesday, September 8th, 2001. Hiker survives grizzly attack. On August 23rd, a 55-year-old was attacked by a grizzly bear while hiking alone on Thoroughfare Pass. This bear was with two cubs, and there was a dense fog in the area. The bear attacked from about 100 feet away. The visitor was able to use bear spray after being knocked to the ground. The bear left quickly, and the visitor hiked an additional 1.5 miles to the Eelson Visitor Center, where he was taken by park bus and an ambulance to Fairbanks Memorial Hospital. He suffered puncture wounds to his calf, left ribs, and left shoulder. The park does not intend to locate the bear because the attack was defensive in nature due to the presence of the cubs. Some backcountry areas near the attack site have been closed for a week. So, honestly, amazing. You get attacked by a grizzly bear and you survive, with minor injuries, and that was crazy, and he probably only survived because he was able to deploy his, bear spray. So, go him. I mean, I would put that on my social media bios. I survived grizzly attack, but no, really, like, that is really scary, and that is always why you have to have bear spray out. Like, you're holding it, with your finger on the trigger, ready to pull it because that bear attacked from over 100 feet away. You would not have enough time to pull bear spray out of your bag to deploy it. You just wouldn't. So again, reminder to always have it out with you. Our next incident report is from Dry Tortugas National Park, and this is in Florida. And this happened March 2004. And the title is Cuban Refugees Land and Park. Campers at the park's Garden Key campground heard loud cheering and whistling coming from the South Swim Beach just past midnight on March 19th. Park employees were contacted. When they arrived at the beach, they discovered 10 men singing in Spanish and dancing and determined that they had left Cuba 2 days prior in hopes of reaching the United States and being granted political asylum. The group had navigated from Cuba in a 12-foot fishing boat powered by an antique looking single cylinder diesel engine. The winds at the time were 15 to 25 knots, with seas at 5 to 7 feet. The men were all mildly dehydrated and hungry, but otherwise in good health. Park employees, with assistance from campers, gave the men food and water and held them in crew quarters at Fort Jefferson. Arrangements to move them were made with the Coast Guard and the following morning. The cutter P Island transported the group to Miami for processing. Prior to leaving, one of the men handed sorry, this is funny. Prior to leaving, one of the men handed over a set of car keys and house keys and stated in Spanish that he didn't need them anymore because he was a free man and he was never going back to Cuba. So I included that one because I think it's important to include, especially in today's time, and, just because I thought it was funny that he's like, "Here are my keys, and I'm never going back there," and, I just thought that one was kinda funny, but pretty much only in Dry Tortugas National Park would you have an incident report about men washing ashore in a boat, singing and cheering and so happy to be in the United States. Our next one is from Everglades National Park, and it happened July 17th, 1996. And the title is Visitors Injured by Alligator. AT, 7 years old, of Sao Paulo, Brazil, was injured by an alligator on the afternoon of Saturday, July 13th. The boy was bicycling with his parents and two siblings on Shark Valley Road west of the visitor center when he fell off his bicycle into a canal along the roadside. His parents, HT and MT, jumped into the canal to rescue him, who had been grabbed around the chest by an alligator. As HT approached his son, he saw the alligator lift its head in an attempt to move the boy back to its mouth. HT reached around the head of the gator and attempted to open its jaws by prying them open. And MT placed her arm between the mouth and her son. After a brief struggle, the alligator released its grip and moved back. The parents then pulled the boy to the bank of the canal, where a tram tour employee came to their assistance. AT was brought to the visitor center immediately, where Christine LaRue, who is an entrance station employee who'd been trained as a first responder, she provided initial aid. She was soon joined by Rangers Larry Anderson and Jeff Serbernek, both EMTs, and then by Metro Dade Rescue Squad. The boy was medevaced to Miami Children's Hospital with two broken ribs, a pneumothorax, and a puncture wound to his shoulder and chest. Rangers took the mother to Kendall Hospital, where she was treated for puncture wounds in the hand and released. This is believed to be the first visitor alligator incident since the park was established in 1947. Visitors are routinely advised about safety precautions regarding wildlife within the park and admonished to stay at least 15 feet away from alligators. On Sunday, AT was listed in stable condition and was reported to be up and out of bed playing Nintendo. District District Ranger Mike Mayer is heading up the investigation. So that's just a feel good. An accident happened. This kid was attacked by a gator, and a pneumothorax is actually pretty serious. It's where your lung is punctured. And so his parents freaking did the dang thing and fought that gator off. So happy ending to that story. Our next incident report is from Gates of the Arctic National Park in Alaska, and this happened Friday, September 11th, 1992. This one is a rescue. While conducting an aerial patrol in northeastern part of the park on August 31st, the park's pilot spotted a backpacker who was signaling for help. The ranger responded in a BLM contract helicopter that was working in the area and contacted NT of Sandy Bay, Tasmania, who had been stranded by injuries in the Ula Valley. NT was in the sixth day of a solo 3-week hike through the northern Brooks Range on the 25th when he fractured his ankle, ouch, and tore ligaments and tendons in his lower leg. Using an improvised caribou antler crutch, he managed to cover 8 miles in 7 days. That's crazy. Aircraft had flown over him for 3 days, but he'd been unable to get their attention until the park pilot saw him. NT was evacuated to Fairbanks, where he was to undergo surgery on September 9th. So, yes, if you are going to be recreating outside doing solo 3-week trips, you better be damn tough because if you break your ankle, you're going to have to get a caribou antler crutch and hike 7 miles, I'm sorry, 8 miles with a broken ankle. And that is actually really, really impressive. So, again, the only people that should be doing this type of shit are the people that could handle themselves in an emergency. And honestly, he is very lucky that he got the attention because can you imagine you broke your ankle, you're trying to hike, you're in a lot of pain, you think you might die out there, and airplanes are flying above you and for 3 days and then you finally get the attention of someone. So that was pretty cool incident report to read, honestly. And we just have a few more to go. So our next one is from Jefferson National Expansion, and this was in Missouri, and this one was the Gateway National Park. There we go. But in 1992, I guess it was called Jefferson National Expansion. So this happened September 1992, and it wasn't an illegal jump. This one's a little bit longer, but it's pretty funny. So, just after 7 a.m. on September 14th, an unidentified man scaled the gateway arch by suction cupping up one leg and successfully base jumped by parachuting to the ground. The jumper landed between the legs of the arch, where he was met by two individuals who had been photographing the jump. The trio then gathered their gear and headed to waiting vehicles because it's illegal. The jump had been observed by the park staff, um, However, what does it say? And pursuit was begun, I guess. This person that wrote this wasn't very good at it. The jumper made it through to a waiting car and sped away. The other two individuals went to a vehicle at the riverfront parking area, but were stopped by park maintenance man as they attempted to leave the area. Rangers arrived immediately thereafter, took the pair into custody, and confiscated 35 millimeter and video equipment and a voice activated transceiver. The jumper later called a local radio station and described his escapade. He said that he started his climb at 3:30 a.m. using 8-inch suction cups and that it took him 2.25 hours to reach the summit. The man also said, among other things, that he'd base jumped the World Trade Center in New York and that he was not from St. Louis, that his girlfriend had driven the getaway vehicle and that and that the people photographing the jump were unknown to him and just happened to be present. They did not know him. That's funny. Rangers discount the latter statement since the individual ran towards the jumper, left park grounds with him and the transceiver, which they apparently used to communicate with him. Suction cup marks have been found on the south leg of the arch, and two water bottles have been found at the top. One of the water bottles contains some written material which is being inspected. The jumper has contacted a local television station and offered to sell the videotape from his helmet camera for $2,000. So I read this and I was like, "Oh my god." I mean, everybody, like, shits on Gateway National Park, and I've been there, and it's just a really big arch, but this was freaking hilarious, like, going up there with suction cups and then videotaping it and lying to rangers and immediately calling a radio station and then being like, "I'll sell you the footage for $2,000." I am dead. So that one was just a funny one. And then we have, 2 more. Our second to last one happened in Glacier National Park, and this was in Elk Mountain in 1987. And this one was follow-up visitor death from bear attack. On April 25th, Mr. C.G. and his wife were hiking in the park. C.G., an avid wildlife photographer, spotted a female grizzly and three cubs and went to take photos of them while his wife returned to the car. When he failed to return, a search was begun. His badly mauled body was found the next day. A board of inquiry was held, and the report has been issued. A reconstruction of events based in part on the photos found in CG's camera led to a determination that CG had unduly provoked the grizzlies. He had taken 39 photos of them from 8 different positions, the closest at 168 feet. That's damn too close to be with a grizzly with 3 cubs. Each time the bears had moved away from him, he had pursued, closing the distance each time. CG finally got too close for the mother, who, in protecting her cubs, turned on him. Although CG tried to climb a tree, the bear pulled him down and severely mauled him. There was no predation. CG bled to death, and the bear and her cubs moved on. No management actions will be taken, i.e., they will not kill the bear. So again, like, guys, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. If you can put your thumb up and squint and you can still see wildlife behind it, you are too close. You are too close. And how messed up it is it that you want to get this photo so freaking bad in the 80s that you are literally pursuing a mom grizzly and 3 cubs, and it doesn't matter what year because people still do this now. It's probably even worse now. But like, you are going to fuck yourself over. If you are fucking with a grizzly, it is going to kill you. And honestly, it's pretty funny that he tried to climb a tree because bears can climb and it got him down and mauled him. So again, my stepdad would say, now who's the stupid one? That's his favorite saying, or whatever he would say. So I want to end on a good note today. This is a very heartwarming story out of 2021 in November, also from Glacier National Park. And the title is Girl Reunited with Teddy Bear After 1 Year Separation. On October 9th, 2020, while hiking with her family and a family friend who lives near the park, a child lost a teddy bear on Hidden Lake Trail. The bear had been a gift from the girl's parents just before adopting her as a way to keep her company before she could be united with her new family. The family realized the teddy bear was lost that evening, but it snowed overnight and the trail was closed for the season, preventing a return to the park. A ranger specializing and bear management was doing some end of the season work when he found the stuffed animal. He brought it home and eventually decided to put the bear on the dashboard of his patrol truck as his mascot. The family friend who lives near the park returned to the park the following year with other friends and happened to see the bear on the dash at the on his dash at a trailhead. She was able to track down other rangers who helped her retrieve it. The teddy bear and young girl were reunited, and the family friend bought a new teddy bear for the park ranger's truck. That's so nice. So, I wanted to end on a good note because some of these are bizarre in crazy ways, and some of them are bizarre in really fun ways. And I just think it's so funny that the ranger that found the teddy bear literally was a ranger that specialized in, what did it say? Let me see. Bear management. He found the teddy bear. So just a cute thing. So, as always, recreate responsibly and remember, sometimes the great outdoors aren't always great. Thanks for listening to Morbid Outdoors. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. It's free, easy, and it helps us out immensely. When you subscribe, you get updates on our latest episodes, and it also boosts our visibility, making it easier for other curious souls to find us. Another great way to support Morbid Outdoors is by leaving us a review. Whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, a quick review helps us know what you love about the show. You can also join us on Patreon for early and ad-free content. Find us on Instagram and Facebook at Morbid Outdoors Podcast. You can email us case suggestions and your campfire stories at morbidoutdoorspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for the support, and I'll see you next time.